Good morning, everyone. This is Zach Wiley with Zach Daniel Concrete again, and I am sitting on what's called a rack attack. This is a back saver for when we're hand grinding or doing anything close to the floor. It looks like an upside down or a backwards tricycle. It's kind of funny, but man, they make a huge difference, and it's an interesting thing to do or to have, but such a wonderful tool. But what I'm really wanting to talk to you about today is joints. So when we go to do a grind, stain, and seal, or a polish job, or an epoxy job, whatever, any patching, joint work, etc., almost happens first. Sometimes we cut the floor one time to kind of reveal any damage or patching that might need to occur, underneath the cap or the top of the concrete there. Sometimes we don't need to do that. It really just kind of depends on the job. But we're always going to fill these joints first. And the reason we do that is because of the video that I just showed you. If we fill the joints first, this polyurea type compound or a mixture of that type of a thing will go into these joints, and it's semi-rigid. It fills in the joints, but it still allows them to expand and contract and all that kind of good stuff. And that's really what you want. Joint filler is meant to make a floor more seamless. Aesthetically, it's I think a more pleasing look for sure. And it also fills it up for cleaning purposes, right? I mean, who wants to clean out crumbs from their joints and everything else like that? So when we're filling joints, we want to do that. Probably for most customers, I would say. You don't have to, but I think it's a really good practice. It definitely upgrades your floor, if you will. It's always the small details that kind of do that. But when we do it, the process when we fill joints is we want to do that early on, right after the first pass of grinding, if not before that. Like one of the first things that we're going to do. And the reason why is, again, that video that I just showed you, if you fill the joints first, we then fill them and we shave them smooth to the concrete. Now, smooth is a relative term. Now, it's going to be mostly level with the concrete, and it's going to look like it just filled in the joint, but it might have some jagged edges or some residue on the side. And once we start grinding the floor over the joints, the joint filler is totally fine inside that joint. Nothing's going to get hurt or harmed or anything like that. But it's going to shave them smooth, and it's going to look super neat in just like a tiny little line of joint filler in there that's going to match the stain color of your floor, and it's going to look beautiful. You don't even know that they're there, and that's the point. Now, we just ran into an issue with the client, and it's not anybody's fault. We don't know how it happened or whatever, but in the contract it said, hey, we're not going to fill the joints. But after when we stain the floor, the customer's like, man, I really want these joints filled. And it's like, shoot, I really wish we'd done that earlier, because again, that video that I just showed you guys, the joints look really rough because we filled them in after we stained it and sealed it. We did a grind, stain, and seal, beautiful tote floor and a beautiful home. Floors look great, and that customer again just said, hey, I want these joints filled. And we filled them up and we scraped them clean as delicately as we possibly could, literally spending extra hours for free with a razor blade, just whittling away at these joints so we don't scratch the floor and the stain underneath it. And we did a pretty good job, but the joints still look a little rough, and the customer's like, Zach, guys, can you please come back and just try to, clean this up a little bit? And honestly, I think it would walk off in time with foot traffic, because we didn't put another top coat on there or anything like that. We want it to walk off, and then sure, we can come back and do some maintenance later if we need to, but the joints look great even without the top coat. It's a very durable compound. But again, we have to now come back, and we're doing things, again, to be nice to the client and really kind of just do our due diligence to make sure that people are happy, because that is our goal, is to get that 5-star Google review. Standard operating procedure, order of operations, right? We always want to fill those joints first, and then grind them smooth, scrape them smooth, grind them smooth, all that kind of good stuff, so they look really, really good at the end of the day and at the end of the project, instead of having to come back after the fact, chip away at these joints the best we can without harming the floor, maybe have to pass the stain. You're opening up a can of worms anytime we have to come back to fix something, and maybe we scratch the floor doing this, and then we have to pass it, and now you see that patch, and it's just like, oh, shoot. Now we've made something look worse when we could have just left this very small problem. At the end of the day, we want to do a great job, but again, the best way to do this is a grind, stain, and seal. In the first day, you're going to be patching, you're going to be filling joints, you're going to be doing all that kind of fun stuff, so you can grind that stuff smooth and get those details right the first time. At the end of the day, instead of having to come back, try to scrape them smooth really delicately. I'm literally using a drill and a Nylox brush to get these joints and the residue around it kind of off, and it's taken forever. It's just, and it's risky. There's always a risk to this stuff. So, again, when we're doing a grind, stain, and seal, if you're a future customer, make sure you say, hey, Zach, we want these joints filled. We want them with the stain. We want them the same color as our stain in our floor. And, just let's make sure we do that. And it's going to be in your proposal. It's going to be in your invoice. You're going to see it as a line item saying, okay, we want a taupe floor and we want taupe joint filler, and we're going to do that first. We're going to scrape it smooth. We're going to grind it smooth. It's going to look like a beautiful seamless floor. That's the way to do it, not the other way around where we're staining that floor first and then filling the joints and then having to come back and clean them up later. It's not a good look for anybody. It doesn't make the customer happy. It doesn't make us as a business happy. We're having to spend our hard time, our family time, sometimes coming out on a weekend like I'm doing right now, cleaning this stuff up. And that's not me knocking the customer at all. I want them to be happy. I want that 5-star Google review, absolutely, because that means they're happy, we're happy, great. But there's a better way to do it than what we're doing right now. And these are sometimes the hard mistakes we learn, and I have a hard time saying no, and that's my fault, but I want the customer to be happy, so that's why we're here. So, word to the wise for our future customers, as well as customers who maybe want to call us back and do something else. Let's do those joints first. Thanks, guys.